Hey everybody, Lulu the Jester here, and with the Battlefield 6 beta having passed for about over a week now, and having the chance to kind of sit there and ruminate and sit with my thoughts, I figured though I'd just go ahead and give my general review, the good, the bad, the ugly style. And so without further ado, let's just start off with the ugly. The good thing about the ugly is that some of these things already have been adjusted or will be adjusted according to the devs for Battlefield 6. They have already put up a blog post basically detailing some of the things that they learned from the feedback and everything like that from the beta. So anything that does have some changes, or we know that there should be changes being made, I will address those things in the video. But starting off with number one, I don't understand it. I don't get it. No server browser. Why? It's dumb. It's just dumb to me. Why DICE refused to give us one, I really don't get it. It's one of the reasons why their older games have such a great ability to be replayed and constantly played to this day, because people not only can rent their own servers, they can literally keep them populated by knowing which ones people are actually on. People can filter their servers by, not only maps. We used to be able to filter them by players. We used to be able to filter them by regions, so that people can not only make sure that they're playing the kind of modes and the kind of maps that they want to, but also playing in the regions where their connection will actually make sense. I mean, I know that they did kind of give us a thing where you can custom pick which modes and which maps you look for, but I feel like it really didn't honestly matter all that much. I don't know. Like, one of the reasons that I still find games so easily on BF1 is because I can tell which servers are packed, so I just can pick one of the more populated servers. Even if I have to sit in queue for like 5-10 minutes, it's completely fine. And I actually get to play with people, though. That's the best part. I get to play full stacked lobbies with people for games that are almost decades old. I feel like every Battlefield should utilize this feature, but that's just me. Number two, I still think that mostly locked weapons are better, but the best way still to do it is the BF4 system. Carbines, shotguns, DMRs available to everybody, main class weapons only to those classes. This gives us the bit of variety for the classes that they really should have to flex their unique roles, but you still kind of maintain those weapon roles between the classes. The reason I say the hybrid system is better in my opinion is because ultimately gadgets are what fully push each class into their role. I say at least it's the more forefront thing that pushes them into their designated classes, but weapons I feel like are the second closest factor. And yes, it's great that there are closed weapon playlists, but I just don't know if it's going to be the best solution long term. The third thing, UI gets a little cluttered. I just feel like there's too many things on your screen at some points. I feel like the UI should be able to be customized a little bit more as far as what goes where. For example, I appreciate the fact that the score is now at the top of the screen, but I do feel like it could just go right above the map like it has in previous games, or just make it smaller or something like that. I just feel like currently the HUD elements are a little too big. And lastly, in one of the biggest things I feel like for everybody, movement needs to be tuned down, especially as far as momentum. You shouldn't be able to slide hop. Like, this isn't Call of Duty. We don't want bunny hopping necessarily. Hopping around a corner and then engaging a target is one thing. Hopping around a corner and then hopping again, all while being able to fire is just a bit obnoxious to me. There needs to be some kind of stamina decay. I feel like would be the best thing for everybody, just because it should be using those you should be able to more so use your momentum to get into cover and things like that, rather than using them during combat. You should be able to use these things, but they should be effectively mostly for defensive maneuvers. They should be ineffective for offensive maneuvers. Also, the parachute definitely gets you too much height and distance, and it just allows you to parkour way too easily. That definitely needs to be adjusted. But luckily from what we do know, the momentum is being tuned down. I don't know how much, we don't know exactly how, but they are addressing it, and they are addressing the out of bounds areas. So hopefully, even if they don't tune the parachute, there will be a bit more control over some of these areas that shouldn't be accessible by other players. Now, let's move on to the bad. In my opinion, weapon balance still felt weird, but I put this more of like a middle of the road issue because like we didn't have a whole lot of different weapons within the classes. It was only 2 each, so, or it was like 2 to 3 each, I feel like. But either way, you know, it did feel like your usual AR and carbine were king. M4 is really good, you know, which is kind of just par for the course. Not that that's necessarily a super bad thing. It's just some of the weapons felt like they didn't necessarily get to show their personality, if you understand what I mean. I just think some of the other weapons could use some love, but that's no biggie. And from what we do know, this has also been adjusted as far as the shotgun goes. Shotgun is getting a nerf and is going to need more pellets to kill. So that's a good thing. Shotgun's not going to be as oppressive, but is going to still be oppressive in close quarters, obviously, if it's hitting all of the pellets. The second thing for the bad is that maps are a bit too small, in my opinion. Now, I'm not super held up by this, only because current design leads to good flow of gameplay and everything like that. It just makes it a little bit harder to have that sandbox feel without having as much room to breathe. Also, obviously, flanking opportunities are a little less successful because, you know, enemies can kind of see what route you're taking a lot easier, I feel like, with some of the smaller maps. We haven't necessarily seen all the bigger maps also, so like this might be a wait and see to see what some of the bigger maps are going to look like and what the DLC maps are like when they add them, because they have stated in that same blog that a lot of the DLC maps and the other maps that they will be adding will be a lot more of the bigger sized ones. So that's obviously a good thing. Also, in my opinion, some of the maps do need to be adjusted for like balance purposes. Rush and Breakthrough really feel like they're difficult when you're on offense. I mean, maybe that's just me, but it felt like some maps it was really tough to get past the first objective a lot of the time. Another thing for the bad category, hit registration was pretty wonky. I know DICE, it'll still be wonky when the game gets released, but I hope netcode does get worked out as much as possible before launch and as much as possible after launch, let's be honest, because we want to make sure that everybody has a smooth and consistent game. Obviously, the time to kill versus time to death conversation is, you know, inherently tied to netcode and all that kind of stuff. So we just gotta iron that out as much as possible. Another thing for the bad, sweet spot mechanic is back. It was in Battlefield 1 and some people didn't like it because they felt like it, you know, it dumbed down sniping. In my opinion, I don't have anything necessarily against it. It can make sniping more consistent and more satisfying in a lot of ways, but that's, you know, that's one of those things that I put in here mostly because it's going to be very much personal preference. You know, some people just aren't going to like that and other people are going to be okay with it. And the last thing for the bad category is going to be the fact that menus are buggy and slow and cumbersome. I have a feeling that this will get ironed out. 2042 was the same way, and they did eventually iron out a lot of the like weird menu things. Sometimes you know, the settings and the things that you change kind of play weirdly with each other. Like if you switch your stick or your button layout to tactical, so you use your B button to melee and your thumbstick to crouch, you're no longer able to mount properly, I found. And you would, like, if you were prone, you would like go into crouch when you press B to melee instead of being able to stay on the ground. But yeah, so hopefully that gets fixed and ironed out. Once again, this has been a problem before, a lot of legacy bugs in the Battlefield beta, but I guess, you know, as a veteran of the series, I'm kind of used to those, so that's why I put them in the bad category rather than the ugly. If you're new to the series, that might have been, you know, a little bit more rough for you. But finally, we can get to the good. First of all, classes are backed and even in some ways revamped. I really appreciate the fact that they folded support into medic. It makes so much sense to me, and especially as someone who usually mains either medic and support like as the two top classes I play the most. I'm glad that these two got hit with the polymerization because I'm about to be shoving defibs in as much ammo into people's faces as I possibly can. I also think this is good because, in my opinion, in Battlefield 1 and 5, when the assault in the engineer classes kind of got pushed together, it made it more anti-tank, or you had to be more anti-tank or anti-infantry. It felt like people focused a lot more on the anti-infantry side, and I think that might be a reason that contributed to why vehicles, especially tanks, were so strong in Battlefield 1. Hopefully now people will pick engineer a little bit more and use those rockets a lot more. The second good thing is that destruction is also back in, honestly, maybe better than ever. We still have to see how much we can level a map to the ground on some of these other maps. Like a lot of the more close quarter ones, it makes sense why you can't necessarily tear them up as much. But even then, there's quite a lot of destruction. Rubble drops are back, so you can kill people with the debris and stuff like that by shooting at buildings. It just gives you a lot of dynamic control over the player space, which is a huge part of Battlefield. It's a huge part of its identity. So yeah, I also like that you instantly know when like debris danger is like a thing, because like the floors of a building will shake violently. Also, the actual look of the rubble and how the buildings break apart is really realistic, and it's just a really nice touch in my opinion. The next thing is that gunplay, in my opinion, feels really nice. I like the fact that tap fire is back. Obviously there are some issues from hit registration and things like that, but in my opinion, at least on controller, gunplay is a bit more in that Battlefield 4 range. Like I said, tap fire, burst fire is more effective for longer ranges, and it feels good to be able to use some of these weapons at further engagements because you're like able to control your aim and have it on point. Like SMGs can push their engagements pretty far. And the last thing that I feel is really, really, really great about Battlefield is that it has hit the aesthetic for the franchise. What Battlefield players want as far as gameplay and aesthetic, the immersion, I feel like it hits so well. The maps are perfectly cluttered, they're gritty, they're torn, they can become even more torn. They look like a proper battlefield. And obviously, as always, the sound design team from DICE, immaculate. They always hit it out of the park. Anyways, that's all I really felt about the whole Battlefield 6 beta so far. A lot of it is still reserved for when the actual game comes out. What I did play, I very, very, very much enjoyed. That's how I miss the betas already so much. I'm looking at my clips and everything like that. It's just like, dang, I wish I could be there. I was already there, but I wish I could go back. But other than that, please like and subscribe. Comment down below. Tell me what you guys felt about the beta. Share with your friends. Share with your mama. And as always, peace and chicken grease. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out.